Hi guys, welcome back to the Codefreak channel. Freak out as you code. So in this tutorial, we are going to cover a lot of topics. It's going to be a big tutorial. I would suggest you to watch this till the end to gain the maximum knowledge. So we are going to be talking about all the object-oriented programming concepts, most of them in JavaScript. So we'll be starting off with what are classes, syntax, basic examples, and some concept clarifications. We'll go to inheritance, and we will talk about some concepts there also. Then we'll go to static property, instance of. Then we go to public, private, protected. Those are some keywords which are important. And then you have introduction to extending built-in classes. So that's important. And then you have the mixin basics. So this is what we'll try to cover in this class. So let's dive right into it. So now let me just comment this before we start so that it helps out. So what are classes? So in practice, we often need to create many objects, and we have done that also previously of some kind, maybe like goods, users, or of a person, stuff like that, right? And we have used the constructor with a new operator. So even if you have not watched the video which I've put on the top, it doesn't matter. We can start off right now, right? But in the modern JavaScript or the latest JavaScript as such, there is this more advanced construct called class that introduces great new features which are useful in object-oriented programming. So now let's actually dive ahead and you see the syntax as such. So let's go ahead. So you use the class keyword and then you make the class. So maybe you call your class my class, okay, or my class one or my first class, anything, doesn't matter. Then you put curly brackets. All right, so there's no equal to sign. First you put in the class methods or the class functions. Functions in class are called methods. Okay, so first you have the constructor. So you can even have first you'll actually have some variables if you want. Otherwise you can directly use this also. You'll first have a constructor here with some things inside it, and then you can have method 1, method 2, method 3. So I'm just going to put method 1 for now. So after that you can have other methods. So this is a basic syntax. You can follow it, you need not follow it also, but this is how it works. All right, and then there are no commas as such after each of them. That is something which is really important. So newbies actually try to put commas there because in objects you put commas. So that is something which you have to kind of remember. All right, so now let's look at an example, and then let's look at some concepts and examples. Okay, so let's create a class, a basic class called user. So you have to keep capital letter, so like similar to how you put the constructor kind of thing. So that's what is preferred as such in JavaScript. Okay, so let's give a constructor. So a constructor will take in a name and maybe say make a variable called name, this dot name. So this operator actually refers to this user class. Okay, for now name, and then whatever is the name, it will store it in this. Perfect. Then you can even say hello, like how we have done in the previous tutorials also. You can say hello in the same manner. You can do alert like how we have done previously, or you can even do console.log also. So it doesn't matter, but again you have to use this dot name, otherwise it will give an error. All right, so this is how you actually create a class. So now how do you create an object of the class? You have to create an object of the class. So you can create an object. So let user, so small letter, then equal to, you use the new keyword, and you use the new keyword, and you put in the name there like that, user, and then you can, based on whatever are the parameters in the constructor, you can actually do that. So we always have John Smith, right? We had in the previous class also, so previous tutorial also. So I think that's good. Then maybe so right now we have created a user named this thing, right? So if you actually do console.log user, console.log user, you can do that, right? Let's see what happens. So I have not connected it to the JavaScript file, so let me do that. Here source, so the name of the file is classes.js. That's it, right? So you can actually now see that you get this console.log user works out, right? Okay, you got an unexpected error or something like that. So let's see where the error is coming from. So it's line 7. Okay, we have to comment this out, right? So let's do that. Yeah, so you got a user which has a property name called, okay. So you can look at it also, right? Perfect. So now let us use the function which we have put inside, which is say hello. So you can do user dot say hello. Yeah, you can call the function. So you should get an alert with the name, right? John Smith. You can say hello John Smith also. That should be better actually. So you want to do that? Yeah, we can do that. It's very simple. So just put hello so that we have a good thing here, right? Hello plus this name. So actually you will get hello John Smith. So put a space there so that you get a space between that also, right? So you got hello John Smith. Okay, that's with respect to the basic example. Comma, you should not use any comma here. That's important. You should not confuse it with the object literals. That is different from this. Okay. So what is a class? Why do you exactly need it? You may be thinking you have objects already. So why do you exactly need it? Okay. So it's actually a entirely new language level entity. So object oriented programming is something of a higher level language. So that's why you actually have the class to prove that it's an higher level language. So that is the idea. So there are some magic actually which you can actually see, especially with the complex aspects. As we go ahead, I'm sure you'll be able to look at it. So let's take an example here. Okay. So let me show you one nice concept. So you can do console.log. Let's try type of. Yeah, this is something which we always did, right? So we should always do also type of user. Okay, let's see what comes, guys. So it is type of small letters, right? So this is a headache here. It's an object. Okay, so now let us check type of capital U user. Okay, see, that's an object. I told you that, right? This is something new. It's a function. That is something which you have to keep in mind. This whole thing as such is considered a function in JavaScript, which is different from many other programming languages. It was a surprise as such to everybody whoever listens to it for the first time. Okay, so what happens here is that you are actually seeing that user is same as user.prototype.constructor. Okay, so basically when you did this, it was equal to calling this constructor here. That is why it considered it a function. All right, so that is something which you have to actually remember. So that I think is enough with respect to the classes. So now let's go ahead and look at inheritance. So let's comment this out. Okay, so class inheritance as such, so it's a way of extending one class to the other or providing all the features of one class for another class. Okay, so we'll look at an example where it becomes more clear. So we have a keyword called extend as such, which allows us to do that. So let's look at the syntax in the example, and so that it becomes more clear as such. Okay, so I'm going to create a class called vehicle. So I'll give a constructor here. So constructor, then I'll take in the name of the vehicle, and we'll have this, and we'll do this dot speed. So we'll have something called speed. First we'll initialize it to 0 because right now it's not running. All right, and then we will put this dot name. We'll basically initialize the name because we have taken the name, right, as the parameter. We'll make two more functions which will help us out. So when you want to make the vehicle run, for example, then you have to get the speed, right? So we'll get a speed there, and then we will initialize this dot speed to whatever is the speed that you've got there, right? So then we'll have another function which will stop. Okay, so stop. This doesn't have any parameters. You can just do make this dot speed 0, and or console.log started running, something like that. and maybe here also we can have console.log. Here we can have stopped running, right? So this will actually help us out. So now let's create a object of the vehicle. So how do you do that? You can just do let vehicle. It's conventional to use a small letter for this, okay? And you can use the new keyword vehicle, and you can give a name, maybe something like my vehicle. All right, so maybe something like this, okay? So this should work out, right? You can even console.log your vehicle. So let's do that. So you should have two things there, right, inside the vehicle, which is the speed and the name of the vehicle. So let's see it right now. So we have speed, which is 0, and name as my vehicle, whatever you've put here, right? You can make it capital also, it doesn't matter. And use the run and stop functions which are there inside. So vehicle dot run, see, vehicle started running, and then maybe you can do stop. See, that also works. It stopped running. So these work, right? So I'll explain this in a graphical manner. Okay, so you can see here the constructor which you have with respect to the vehicle. So this will have a vehicle prototype. So you have the constructor, you have two functions, run function and the stop function, and then you have created an object called my vehicle using this new property, right? So that has a name, and it also has a one more thing, that is the speed, which is 0, which I forgot to put here. So yeah, that's with respect to the graphical representation. Now let's actually make a class called car. Okay, see, car as such is um, a vehicle, right? So you can take all these properties of the car, like run, stop. You can take all these, right? So you can use the keyword extends, okay, and then you can put vehicle here. So this is how you inherit a class. It's similar to like how child extends to parent. So that's one example. Or a rabbit is an example of a animal, or a parrot is an example of a bird. So like that, you can have different real world examples which suit it, right? Then you can continue with this brackets here, and then you can maybe have one function for car also. Maybe the number of wheels. You can have a function called wheels, which will have a parameter, a number of wheels. Let me just put now. Okay, oh, that sounds pathetic, but let's just use it, okay? So this dot number of wheels equal to now, number of wheels. That should be fine, right? So you have no commas here, so that is a reminder there. So now let's create an object here. So let car equal to, we use the new keyword, and then call this car. Then we give it a name, maybe something similar, my car, something like that, right? So it will create a car there. So if I just use this again, and let me just do console.log car here. So let's actually see what happens. So you got a car with speed and with a name. Okay, so you just have the same properties here based on the constructor here. Okay, so let me just show you one more thing. Here you can actually do car.wheels also. Car.wheels. So actually, if I put this before console.log car, then you should be able to see some change here, right? So now is undefined because we have to put a value here. Maybe a car has 4 wheels, right? So you got number 4. So that's how actually you can add in properties. You don't need to again have all these functions here, right? So now I'll show you the graphical representation also first. So this is how you can actually graphically represent it. You have a vehicle class and you have a car class with the constructor. So you don't have a constructor for a car class as of now. Okay, so we can add in a constructor. We'll look at that. So we have a vehicle, so you have a prototype here. So you have vehicle prototype having these two functions along with constructor. I have not added constructor for the car, we'll do that just in the near future. And then you have wheels function, and then you have extends, so this prototype is going to get extended. And then you have an object called car here whose name is my car, as we saw previously, right? Instance, if you call the thing something like car dot run, so how does it go? It goes from down here, it checks whether you have a run function here. If it doesn't have a run function here, then it goes here, and then it does that. All right, it's the same with even constructor. Look at how to override a method. So say you have a method here, so which is same as what is there on top, so something like maybe stop. Okay, so stop is going to be the method here also. So let it do something different. Maybe here you have this dot speed to be, say, to be equal to maybe 5. I mean, I'm just doing that to show you the difference. Okay, and then maybe console.log something like 5. Okay, you can make it a number also, doesn't matter, I just put something there. Okay, so now if I do car dot stop, let's see which function it calls. Does it call this function, or does it call that function, or does it call both of them, or which order they call each other? That's important, right? So, oh, I've not saved it. Save it. Let me refresh it. So you see that actually, as I said in that picture which I showed you previously, that it is going to search for the first stop function from down. So it will first search here. If you don't find any function here, then you go there. Okay. So now let's try it out with the constructors also and look at how it works with respect to the constructor. So let me create a constructor here, and let's give it a parameter again, name. So you may want to have a different name for the car, right? So yeah, so you can do this dot name equal to I'll just put my car directly here so that we know the difference. That's my idea here. So, and I'll make here name to be I'll make the name here to be my vehicle. My vehicle. So you actually don't need the parameter there. So let me just remove the parameter here, and let me just remove the parameter here. Okay. Now let us see what happens. Something interesting you're going to see. You got a error here. Must call super constructor in derived class before accessing this or returning from derived class. So you're getting an error in the 50th line. Let's see what is the 50th line. So yeah, so you're using this, right? So that becomes a problem here. So you hear some word called super, right? So super actually refers to the constructor of the previous or the extended class, or not extended class exactly, of this class which you write after extend. Okay, so from which you derive, or the parent class, so you can call it a parent class, right? So what you have to do here is you have to first do super. That's it, it's just called super. If you have any parameters for this particular function here, we had a parameter here, you actually put that here, right? So now you see that the error actually goes away. So that is something which is little different with respect to the other things, okay, which I wanted to show you guys. So coming back to super, so for example, you had a stop here and then you had a stop here, right? So this, but if you want to first say access this and then do this, or first do this and then do that, that's also fine. I'll just call the super dot stop, okay, just for the sake of it. Okay, I'm just showing you that you can do it this way also. First it's going to call the super dot stop, which will show stopped running, and then you make the speed to 5 and then do console.log 5. So that's how it works. First it calls this stop, then it does this. So that is one more thing with respect to super. So there is one more tricky thing which I think I should show you. So what I have done here is I have put name as vehicle here, and I've put name as my car here, and I've removed all the unnecessary things and commented out, and I've removed the parameter here which was there previously, and here also I've done that. So you can just look at it. So now if I run this whole thing, let's see what happens. You can see that the vehicle as such, it got the name to be my vehicle here, and the car as such, it got the name to be my car. Okay, So the difference as such with respect to this is being initialized in the beginning itself, so it will act little differently from the constructor. In other words, parent constructor always uses its own field value, not the overridden one. But when you do it this way, that is when you initialize it in the beginning itself like this, in this manner, it does the opposite way. You can go back a little bit and you can see that also. So let's actually look at this particular thing here. What's happening is that we have created a name variable inside this, and put a comma here. Actually you should not put a comma, I guess, not put a comma. Then you have a constructor here, and then you're just console.log, you're just doing console.log this name, and then I have created a variable which is a vehicle variable, and I'm doing console.log vehicle, and then I'm doing I'm making the class which extends to the vehicle, putting a name. You have no constructor here, okay, and then I'm just creating an object of this class, and then I'm doing console.log car. So can you actually expect what the output will be for both of these? So let's see that. It's important to understand that. Okay. So it is my vehicle for both of them. Okay. What is my vehicle? So when you do console.log this name, okay, it is going to put my vehicle for both of them, even for the car object and even for this. But inside that, what is stored? It is stored, my car is stored. So that is one more concept which you have to remember, which shows that this operator is kind of really important, and it's a really tricky behavior when we access an overridden field in parent constructor. It's quite different from most of the other programming languages. So that is why I wanted to show you this. That is, in other words, parent constructor always uses its own field value, not the overridden one. Okay. So there is one more small concept which I can just read out to you. Okay. So methods remember this class or object in the internal home object property. That is something which is important, and that's how super resolves the parent method. So you have seen the super. So it's not safe to copy a method with super from one object to another, because that will create a problem. So if you are just copying this and putting it somewhere else, that will be a problem. And arrow functions don't have their own this or super, so they are permanently fit into the surrounding context that way. So coming to the anomaly with respect to the arrow function, I'm not going to go so much into depth, but I'll just show you that. Okay. So as we have talked about the arrow functions previously also, if accessed, it's taken from the outer function. For instance, let's take an example here. Just use one more function which is there here called set timeout. So this is one more inbuilt function which is there, set timeout. And then here inside this, if you have an arrow function like this, so this is an arrow function where you do super dot stop comma 1000. Okay. So you need to actually uncomment this stop function here also. So yeah, let me do that. I have not called this stop function, so let me just call the stop function also. Yeah, it stopped running, right? So copy this again, but comment it also after copying. So I'll paste it down here, and instead of this, if I had a normal function like this, so this is also possible, right, in some parts, not every time, but if I had like this, actually it won't understand what super is. It will give an error. So that is one more thing with respect to the anomaly with respect to the arrow function, which actually helps us out. Okay. So I guess that's this part with respect to the inheritance. Let's move on to the static property. As such, let's look at static properties and static methods. So static methods are usually for the functionality that belongs to the whole class as a whole. Even for the static properties also it works. It doesn't relate to a concrete class instance. That's important. So now let's look at the syntax and also look at one example which will help us out. Let me create a class and let me just call it my class. So yeah, that's it. So let me give a static property. So you use the keyword static and you type property. So it can be any property, and then you put equal to, and then whatever is the property. So this is the syntax basically. Then you can go to the next line, and then for a static function, you again use the static keyword here. Type the function, whatever we type the function, whatever is the function name actually. So function name, and then you have this, and this is how you actually have a static function. So let's create a property or something, just something called property, and let me just put here HTML. So we are learning JavaScript, so let's put JS, that. And maybe you have 3 to 4 of these objects and you want to compare them, right? You can do that, right? So for that you can use this static function which can compare all its objects. So it is one function for this entire class entity. So that's how you can actually remember it. Two objects, so obj1, which is equal to new class, new my class, right? So new my class. So you don't have a constructor, but you have to still use it this way. Create one more object. So now actually let me just add in a constructor here to make this look more better. So a constructor which is going to give some number or something like that. Okay, so you can have this dot name. Yeah, just let's give it a name for now, which is equal to name, and let's take in a parameter also, which is name parameter. Okay, that seems good. So here we can give in a name called obj1, and similarly we can give in a name here called obj2. Fine. So in this static function actually you can name the function to be something like compare, right? So let's compare. So here you can have two objects, so maybe you can give the name o1 comma o2. All right, so let's have one more property also, so to make it easy. So this dot some number. Okay, so I'll just put num, which is equal to the num which will take in through the parameter. So let's do that, comma num. I'll show you why I'm actually doing this. Okay, so maybe the first one will have a number of 10 and first object, and the second object will store a number of 5, and maybe you want to compare and return the difference between these two objects. Okay, so how you can do that is you can do it this way. You can just do return o1 dot num minus o2 dot num. Actually, see, these kind of things you can't do inside a normal class, but if you have a static here, you can actually do that with respect to this. Okay, that's something which I can show you. So if we have, how do we call this compare function as such? So you have to use a capital my class. Okay, dot, you can call the compare function now, compare function, and then you can send both the objects obj1 comma obj2. So that's how it works. Let me just take this for now. I'll type out console dot log, and then inside that I'll paste that thing. So you got 5. Why did you get 5? Which was 10 minus 5. So let's make it 15, so that you can actually see that you get a difference, because you have one more 5 there, right? So you got minus 5. So if you inherit one class from the other also, what happens is that property static function also gets inherited, and it works in a similar fashion. So say we have a class, inherited class here. So let me do that. Make a class. So I'll just call it in her. So you have to use the keyword extends, and then you have to type my class there, right? So there. So maybe name equal to HTML, something like that. So now if I create an object which is object3, which is going to have a new which is going to be a new in here. So let's make this capital high, because that is how you should do it. So let me change it here also. Give it a name. So obj3, it'll call the previous constructor, and let's give it a number 24, something like that, right? So let me also use console.log, and let's compare it with object3. Let's see what happens now. So let me put object3 here instead of 2. So let's see if we get an error or not. So actually you don't get an error. It directly calls of this compare function, right? That is with respect to the inheritance of this thing. So now let us look at instance of. So instance of is kind of a little simple and easy to understand. So let's go ahead and look at it. The instance of operator. So first let's look at the syntax. So it is obj or the object. Then you have the instance of first the class, whatever is the class name. Okay, so this is the syntax as such. Okay, so it gives a truth value or a false value. It is similar to type of kind of thing. Okay, not exactly that, but it's something like that. So if you want to check if an object is a object of a particular class, you can use this instance of property. Okay, so let me show you that. So here object 3 is an object of the class in here, right? So let's check it out. Let's do console.log. So object name is object 3, so obj3. Then you use instance of, okay, and then you type in there. So the O is small, okay, so I made a mistake there. So instance of, and then you have the class name which is in here. So it should give true. Let's see if it gives true or an error. It gives true. So if you check whether it's a instance of my class, let's see that it should give false, I guess, but we have inherited it. So let's see what happens. It gives true. Okay, since it's inherited, it has all the properties of the class. That is something to the class which we had made previously, which was user, right? So now you should get a false. You remember that you got a false. Or you can even check object 2. Okay, it's not an instance of in her, right? So you can check that out also. So you can play around with this and you can use it somewhere. So now let's talk about the private, protected and public properties. So right now let's look at the example here only, which is a class in here which extends to my class, and it has a here a property or a variable inside it, property basically inside it, which is HTML, which is a name. So now this is a public variable. That means you can access it anywhere. You can access it anywhere basically. So let me just do object 3, so which is an object of this particular way in here. Okay, you have made it here, right? So object 3 dot name. So you should get HTML there. So let's refresh it. So you got HTML here. I'll just comment out this instance of, okay. Let me save it so you don't see the false there. So the last one is HTML, right? So now you can that means you can access it anywhere. So now let's talk about what is private and what is protected. All right, that those are the most important thing. So in OOPS actually you try to do some things, some actions to delimit internal interface from the external one. That is the one concept which we need to use actually. Okay, so it private means it can't be accessible anywhere other than inside the class. So it can be accessed only here. So if you use some constructor and use this dot name, you can change it, or a function, you can change it through that. Okay, so how do you actually make a variable private? You just add hash in front of it. So if you put a hash here, it will give me an error. I hope so. So some JavaScript engines actually don't give it an error, but here you are getting, right? So private field name must be declared in an enclosing class. So that's the reason why it is showing private is that way. Okay, so now when you come to protected, you use this underscore sign. So what happens is this actually is not implemented in my JavaScript browser. It may be implemented in your web browser. I'm not sure about that, but this is some convention which people have, so that it makes it easy with respect to the protected, because you have protected in other languages also. So what does protected exactly do? So say you have a protected variable here in somewhere in my class, right? So you can use it wherever you have extended it or wherever you have inherited it. Only in the it's just like private. Okay, it's similar to private. The only thing is that you can access it even in the extended classes or the inherited classes. For example, inher is an extended class of my class, right? So you can access it inside this, but you can't access it outside. Right now, if I save it and do, it will give me the value, so it won't say error, because this is just used as a convention, as I said, with for yourself, but actually it is not recognized by the programming language or the engine here. So that is something with respect to the protected property. So let's move ahead and look at some extended built-in classes. So I'll show you this. This is something which is a little bit important. I mean, yeah, you can skip it also, but I would suggest you to actually look into it. Okay, let's go ahead. So maybe we want to create a class here, power array or something like that. So power array. So what does this do? If the array is empty, it will automatically say that the array is empty. So something like that. Okay. So you can extend it from a class which is array. We already have a built-in class called array. So you can see that, right? You get that color already. And then you can just have one function inside it. Just one function, maybe is empty function. And then you can say return this dot length. How are you going to check if it's empty or not? You can just compare it with triple equal to, you can compare it with 0. Yeah, if it's equal to 0, that means it's empty. It will give a truth value, otherwise it will give a false value. So now let's create an object of this function. So we'll just have an array here, small letters, or you can call it power array actually. So power array, doesn't matter anyway. Then you can use the new keyword and then type in power array there, and that's it, right? And then you can use console.log this function, right? Is empty. I hope we don't get any error. Oh, you have to put it's a function. So let's check out the output. So it's false because actually you are having 1 2 3 inside the array. So let me just make it an empty array like that. So that means it's empty, to give true. So this is an extended feature which you are adding to array, or an extended function. So like this, you can if you have a strings array or something like that, you can add in some functions like string compare, then the length of the string which you already have actually, then maybe some more functions which are useful for your particular program. So that's how this extends works. So we are just giving an introduction here. So now let's talk about mixins, what exactly mixins are and stuff like that. Why are they required in JavaScript? So the generic object oriented programming term. Okay, basically if you so it has a class which contains methods of other class, or it has it's a class which contains methods from another object or class, something like that. So in other programming languages actually you allow multiple inheritance, but if you see JavaScript, it doesn't allow, or it doesn't support multiple inheritance, but you can use mixins to implement that. So say you have some particular functions which you want to do and use for many classes. So you can create a mixin and then you can copy it to various classes. So let's try out that. Let's take a very simple example so that you have no problem later on. Okay. So let's create a mixin. So I'll just call the mixin only, mixin1. Yeah, let me just call it mix in 1. Okay, so I'm creating an object. Okay, so equal to, so maybe you want to have a hi function, say hello function, not hi, say hello function, so which is common for all of them. So something like maybe you have a alert inside that, and then maybe let's use the backticks, it has been a while. So hello, and then you can use the $sign when you use the backticks. Then you can do this dot name. Oh, it's the curly brackets, sorry. Right, yeah. So yeah, for example, this is one function which you may use many times, right? So you don't want to keep writing it again and again. So let's use another function here which may be useful, maybe say by. Just creating some functions here. So again we can do alert, and then in the similar fashion we can use the backticks and then say by. I'm just going to put by here. Okay, so that's with respect to the mixin. So we have created an object called mixin1. How do you actually put it in a real object? So let's create an object called, let's create a class called user, which we have done previously also, I guess. So I don't know why I'm redoing it. Let me just do it for the sake of it. So we have a constructor, put a name there as a parameter. It will be a good revision also for you, right? This operator dot name, and you can put that there like that. This keyword we have used, right? So this is how you actually do it. So now let's copy all of this things, all the functions inside Mixin, and put it in this user. Okay, so for that, actually we have seen in the objects class, which I've tutorial which I've shown you previously, you can do that. So we'll use that property again, so which is object dot assign. So that was the property that we had used. So copy, then you can do user dot prototype. So whatever is the name of the class that you want to copy it to, dot prototype. To do that, and then you put a comma, and then whatever is the name of the Mixin that you want to do, copy all the functions from. So Mixin1, right? So you're going to take all the functions in Mixin1 and put it in this user dot prototype. So it's not an inheritance as such, but it helps us out. Yeah, perfect. So I've created a user here. So let me just do user dot say hello. Let me see whether this works. Look at it. It said hello. So you don't have the function say hello here, right? That's how Mixins work. So you have another way. Let's create another class called user2, just for the sake of it. Not here, user2. So let's create an object of user2. Yeah, I'll just copy this, paste it again, right? And then let's make this user2, and let's make this also user2, and here also user2, and this is fine, I guess. But you will get a error now because you have not done object.assign. Oh, you didn't get an error. It should just say undefined because this function is not there. Fine, that's fine. But you didn't get user2 thing. So let me just copy this and paste it here, and then I can put here user2, right? So now you will get 2 times. That is something which I can show you. So hello user, right? But I've named it user2 to get something different. Let me just okay, I have to put user2 here. That's why I didn't get the error previously also. User, then hello user2. If I don't do this, let me show you that also. Hello user, error, you don't have say hello, right? So that's with respect to Mixins. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it has been a long video, and if you have watched it till here, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Just look at the questions which I've put here. So there are many topics which are covered, but I'm putting only a few questions here. So just try to do these questions, and yeah, that's the thing with respect to the questions. If you watched the video till here, just don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. So please subscribe to my channel if you watched till here. You know how much effort I've gone to make this full video, so big video, right? With all the concepts that you require. So that's it, guys, for this video. Bye bye. Take care.